Hi, I'm here at TPI, and today we're talking a little bit about the hips and talking about something that I specifically saw this past weekend right after the Memorial Tournament. They were doing a quick interview with Tiger Woods, and he was talking a little bit about what he's working on in his golf swing, and it kind of intrigued me because it's exactly what a lot of people deal with. Now, Tiger was talking about something that we call early extension, and what he was demonstrating is that he has this tendency where he doesn't load into his hip, and because of that, on the downswing, as he starts to drive, he actually feels like he stands up a little bit. And a lot of us have that same problem. So it's definitely a physical issue. He was even talking in the tip about the fact that when he's tight, or when he's feeling like he's not quite as flexible or as mobile as he usually is, he has a difficult time loading the hip. And that's a big factor in getting rid of early extension. So everybody extends during their golf swing. It's just you don't want to do it early. So what I mean by this is when we set up, we flex forward at address. As we rotate and we start our downswing, we don't maintain our flexion throughout the whole shot. We maintain our flexion into our lead side and into impact. And then we start to extend so that our hips can rotate and keep turning through the ball. But the key parameter here is you got to load on the backswing. And what Tiger was specifically talking about is trying to actually get this right hip a little bit deeper and sit a little bit deeper. So if I had kind of a line behind my tailbone, what you would see is his right hip would sit back behind that line, which creates space for his arms on the downswing. And you'll actually see him kind of pushing his butt back as a drill, trying to feel like he creates space. This is a huge factor in the golf swing. And for me, one of the reasons why he's been the best iron player ever. And that is because if you watch him, he's always stood fairly close to the golf ball. And then what he does is on the backswing, he loads, and on the downswing, he's always had this little squat, which creates space for his arms. That always gets the club more out in front of him. Now, when things aren't going right, and I don't load properly into this hip, then what tends to happen is I kind of early extend or stand up a little bit on the backswing, so I've lost space already. Then on the downswing, my hips start to go towards the ball, and all of a sudden the club starts to drop behind me, or I feel stuck or trapped. And this is a big problem because it can cause a block to the right for a right-handed golfer, and then it can cause the odd hook as well. And the last thing a competitive golfer like Tiger wants is 2 misses. So as long as he's sitting deep, what it does is it enables him to get his arms back out in front of him, and that brings him back to being the greatest iron player of all time, which he's always been. So here's a quick way to find out if your hips are affecting your golf swing. A couple things. You've probably got video on your golf swing of your phone. If you draw a line on your tailbone at address, so I get in my setup position and I draw a line on my tailbone, I want to make sure that on the backswing, your right butt cheek is going behind that line. And then on the downswing, I want it to stay behind that line. As you rotate your hips, it should stay behind that line. So when the right butt cheek comes off the line, the left butt cheek should be behind it. I should never see daylight between you and that line. So if you're filming your golf swing, take a look at that. Here's another way to find out though if your hips are affecting your swing. You can take a 6-iron and maybe an alignment rod like this, simply turn it upside down and make an angle like this. This is actually a 60-degree angle. If I put this down on my trail leg like so, put the 6-iron down on the ground, and I simply step up to it, and then I step on my right leg, standing tall, I can do a quick test to see, can I, with my foot flat on the ground, clear this angle? If I can, I've got plenty of mobility in my hips. But if you try this at home and all of a sudden you kind of hit a wall or you find your body tilting, guess what? Your hips are a little bit tight and they're probably affecting your golf swing and potentially causing early extension. If your hips are tight, there's a couple things you can do quickly before you do the exercises. Now, I would already guarantee you try and find a TPI certified expert and work on those hips. Get them to screen you because a good physical therapist, they can help your hips tremendously and that'll take the stress of your low back. But right away, the first thing that I would have you do is I would actually have you set up and fan your feet a little bit. Whenever we fan our feet a little bit, it artificially rotates our hip. That's going to enable me to turn a little bit better in the backswing, and that'll take the load or the pressure off your lower back. So you can always fan the feet. You can even feel like your thigh rotates a little bit. You'll see a player like Sergio Garcia do this, where his knee actually goes outside his foot a little bit. He's actually getting quite a bit of rotation from his thigh. So there's lots of little tricks to working around those tight hips, but the key is try and fix those tight hips, because I don't want you to have lower back pain, and I want you to enjoy this game for life.